Hey, Santa Clarita and everyone listening in from around the world. You are right here at KHTS, your hometown station. My name is Sharon Brubaker, Advanced Certified Grief Recovery Specialist, and you are listening to the Grief Recovery Hour. Thank you, my friends, for coming back. I'm so honored to have you here. I'm especially honored to be on this journey with you. I know that a grieving journey is so personal, and to allow someone on that journey is just amazing from your perspective. If you are listening to this program, there's a huge probability that your heart may be broken. It could be from grief, either recent or long ago. Could be from the breakup of a romantic relationship. It could be from an awareness that your life is just not as happy or fulfilling as you want it to be. Regardless of the cause of your broken heart, you know how you feel, and it probably isn't good. I'm not going to tell you how you feel because you already know. At best, I'm going to tell you that I know what it felt like when my broken heart occurred, and it was not good. And that's where I'm going to start today. I have an amazing guest, and I'm so honored to have her here today. Her name is Jessica Hartley, and Jessica is a relationship coach. And I am getting to know Jessica as well as you guys are going to be getting to know Jessica, and that's what I'm so excited about. I told her we're going to have girlfriend time. How's that sound?
I'm excited. Let's do it.
But we're going to be talking about a deep subject, which I really love, and it's going to. We both have different aspects of this. So, Jessica, introduce yourself to our friends and tell them exactly who you are.
All right, thanks. So I'm Jessica Hartley. I am a relationship coach. I have been working with couples and individuals who are often struggling in their relationship. Sometimes they're on the brink of divorce. Sometimes they are wanting to set themselves up for success, so they'll come and work with me prior to marriage. And sometimes they're just proactive and they just want to make sure that they're set up to really thrive. I got into this because the divorce rates to me have just broken my heart. And I am a romantic, and I believe in love and that it should last and that it should be amazing and wholehearted and then have this big happy family. And I didn't have that kind of experience early in my childhood and growing up. And so when I first started falling in love, I had stuff that was not on that track. And so I had to really dive deep and make sure that I can create this as a reality for me, to be able to really, truly have this deep love with my spouse and my family and to have something different from what I knew as a child.
That is so cool. Oh, you got me excited. This is going to be a great show. Yay. Okay, so first question for you is, how long have you been married?
I believe it's 15 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh. You know what I find that most people don't realize? That marriage is something you have to work at. You have to create and grow the marriage you want. Is that true?
Absolutely. I mean, it's just like everything else that you want to create and grow. Like if you wanted to go get a job, what would you do? Well, first I would go get educated. It's what does it take to be successful in this job? What kind of skills do I need to have? And then, you go into the job and then you try it on, you are in it, and then you're like, oh, this is working. What I was taught here isn't working. And, sort of like reassess and self-correct and, all these other things. And so it's like, just like anything, you've got to put effort and energy into being able to have a successful marriage. If you want, it's one of the things that I teach my clients actually is that I believe that relationship, whether it's just a long-term love relationship or if you're married, but that relationship is the most sacred vessel for our personal growth, because it really, the energy that we share with our partner always reflects back to us where we're at, and then we learn how to navigate through this next challenge, and then we grow from it, and then we keep, so it's this beautiful vessel for growth on an individual level, and then because of that individual work, we grow as a relationship. And so, yeah, absolutely. It's work. And it's just like if you're climbing a mountain, it's hard at first.
Right.
And then it gets so easy.
Exactly. And that's it right there. A lot of people quit halfway up the mountain.
Mm-hmm.
They don't realize, and unfortunate circumstances takes them out, and that I totally get. So I've been married 33 years.
Awesome. Beautiful.
My husband and I argue. I think it's 34, but it's 33. But there was a part, I'm going to go back to my own marriage. There was a part where you have the honeymoon, and then there's this part where it starts to get tough, where you realize, I don't want to take the trash out on Tuesday. I don't want to throw away the junk mail. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do that, where you're not really meeting the other person's needs. You're not doing that. But then you have to come back together, work out some of the kinks. But that second part of the mountain where it gets so easy is if we just hung in there. That's not even my question, but I was just relating to,
Yes.
totally relating to that. I think that a lot of people don't realize when we get our marriage license, it doesn't come with the how-to book.
Oh my gosh. Same with parenting, actually.
Yes, yes, exactly. That was my line. And I will tell couples a lot of times, when you got your license, that book that they gave you, and people will literally look at me and go, we didn't get the book. No, you have to create the book. Yes. They don't realize that. And they think it's a true question, but it's true. We don't get the book.
Yeah.
And we have to create what's right for us, correct? Mm-hmm. So who is the perfect client for you? Like, is it working with the women? Is it working with the men? Do you work separate? Do you work together? Who comes to you first?
Well, that's a really great question because it's something that is unique about me, and what I can offer is most relationship help that's out there is, couple based. And so both couples might come to see a traditional therapist or something like that. And I can do that, absolutely. But I, more often than not, am working with just one partner. And I actually love this approach because it really is a testament to how it's more of an internal, personal thing than it is a couple's thing. Because when we change our energy and the way that we're reacting to whatever our spouse is doing, and the way that we are either no longer triggered or be able to hold space for them when they're triggered, or just being this vessel of love and being the example that we want for them, all of these things, then they have to change.
Right.
It's so cool. Like, this is my favorite part of the program that I do, but I call it the transition. And so it's like when one partner, whoever it is that comes to me, and to be honest, most of the time it's women, but it's not a big majority. I would say it's like 65% women when I'm working solo. But anyway, so then when I'm working with them and we get to a certain point in the program together, then their partner starts to shift and they say things to me like, I can't believe he's totally a different person than he's ever been before, and da-da-da-da. And it's like, it's so cool to have them witness this, and they weren't even doing the program with us. You know what I mean? They're just shifting their energy because we're shifting this person's energy. You know? So
isn't
it's so
it cool?
Yeah.
It's so cool. So I do the same thing in grief work. So I work with couples quite often that may be having a grieving experience or just grieving their marriage, some of the junk that's in their marriage. So get them at the beginning. I will only work with them together for the first 2 meetings. And then after that, I separate them.
Cool.
Because literally the path that they're on for their grieving heart or for whatever's broken in their heart, and most times for me it's grief, it's junk that's just sat around there for a long time. I help them to get rid of that. And then I just go after that. And it's the same thing. There's a shift that happens. And when they come back together, it can be an amazing experience because we are both grieving individually. We are both upset about 2 different things. We're both broken at 2 different areas. And that's where I mend. And then they can come back together. So yes, I agree with you. It's definitely like that for me. I like something that you said in the beginning, that couples can come to you prior to marriage. I love that.
Yeah.
One of the rules, one of the stipulations that my husband made on both of our daughters when they got married was that they had to do premarital counseling. We said that was a must that they had to do. And that is so cool. So you can literally help them to lay out the blueprint for
Absolutely.
an amazing marriage.
Oh, I love it when they come to me at that point, because it's so much easier to be proactive than reactive,
Right.
But that's not the norm. Normally when we don't reach out for help until we're really struggling, and we're on sometimes our last bit of hope, and that's usually where people come to me. But yeah, I do love setting them up. One of the things that I'm actually doing is I teach a high school class on relationships, and I do that because I'm so excited about giving them this proactive approach to relationships, and to set them up for, like, okay, this is what relationship is like. So essentially, when you talk about that book, that's what I'm trying to give people. I'm like, here's the book, you guys. Here are the biggest roadblocks that you're going to face, and here's the best way to be able to navigate it. And early on in my work, I did a lot of research on thriving relationships, which ones were thriving, because I did not come from that kind of experience when I was growing up. So I knew what not to do, but not necessarily what to do, And so I did a lot of research on, relationships that were thriving in long-lasting marriages. And so part of what I teach people is, what are these trademarks, that are across the board in all of these kinds of relationships. And so that's part of how I put together the program, and basically give that step-by-step approach to being able to have a thriving, set yourself up foundationally for a thriving relationship.
So, and a little bit of what you were talking about is that we come into marriage and we do the marriage based on what we saw.
Oh, absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
Good, bad, ugly, whatever it is, based on what we saw.
Yeah.
And so I can clearly remember going into my marriage, and even though my marriage is so different than what I grew up with, my marriage is completely different. In the early stages of my marriage, I did what I saw, because that's what we emulate, or that's what we portray, right? Is definitely what we saw. So is it true that if you had a really good marriage, you witnessed a really good marriage, and you're probably going to have a really good marriage?
Oh, absolutely.
And then vice versa. But I would have to say, sorry, Mom, that mine was pretty mediocre. You know what I mean? There was love there, but it was always shown in front of us, that sort of thing.
One of the things that I teach is that the stuff that we have, not just how we are in our marriages, but the wounds and the struggles that we have throughout our life. You're not the only, it didn't start with you.
Yeah.
It came, this is so cool. When I studied this in school, it really blew my mind. But this stuff is handed down to us generation after generation. I had to do this research project when I was in school, and it was sort of the generational psychological experience, and I just sort of traced back. I interviewed all of my aunts, uncles, grandparents, things like that, and talked to them about their childhood growing up and what their parents were like and what their parents' marriage was like from their perspective, and it just really opened my eyes. It was so interesting, and I just saw you could see this pattern that went from as far as I could reach, great grandparents to grandparents to my aunts and uncles, and then and then to me, and then on both sides, from my mom's side and also from my dad's side. And there's just things that abandonment, on my dad's side, for example. And just it was so eye-opening. And so here's the thing, to wrap back to your question, is that it's the default is to replay the same pattern. That's the default.
Right.
But we are equipped with this cool capacity for growth. And so if we can wake up from that default and sort of take control of our reality, of our energy and our autopilot reactions, because that stuff is conditioned inside of us and it's more subconscious than we realize, it's sort of automatic. And so if we can learn to take control of that, then we are going to be the one person that stands in the middle of that generational family pain and changes it for our offspring moving forward.
Absolutely, 100%.
And that's the work that I did, and here's the thing though, to be that person, it's a hard place to be because you're faced with all of this stuff and then you really want to change it,
Yeah.
So, but on the same token, I also want to say that I do believe that everyone is always trying to do better for their kids,
Right.
no matter what, but just to what extent they're willing to take ownership for what they've got going on,
Exactly.
rather than just try to fix their kids and not be the example. That's where the disconnect is, I think. Yeah.
It just reminds me of a story. I'm going to share it real quick. It was a newlywed couple at our church, and they were the first time at the grocery store, and all the items went through, and the cashier looked at them, and the husband looked at the wife, and then the wife looked at the husband, and he just said, my mom always wrote the check. And she said, well, my dad always wrote the check, and neither one of them brought a check back. And that's just an example of what I'm saying. Like, they literally followed what they always saw, and they just went to the store like the other one was going to take care of it. And sometimes it's those little things that you don't discuss, but you really don't know until you're in the thick of it, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
You really don't know until you're in there. There's something that happens after the first few years of that. What do you call that? Like honeymoon or love nesting stage or something. The honeymoon stage. Yeah, the honeymoon stage wears off, where the real work absolutely begins. Mm-hmm. And it can happen sooner than later, correct? Mm-hmm. And that they start opening their eyes to all of the things that can definitely change their marriage for sure. How would someone really know that they're in trouble? What would be the first signs?
Well, I would say, to sort of self-reflect. And, every relationship can have a disagreement, but well, let me start back with this. The first thing to sort of establish is, what is my intention? What is my ideal or my hope for my relationship? And so for me, in my example, I had this grand vision for my relationship, and I was determined to stick to it, So when things started sort of veering off of that path from my doing or my spouse's, it was like a red flag to me right away, and so I sort of was very adamant about let me figure out what this is. And for a while at first, you sort of just sweep it under the rug, or you just try to, sometimes generally, certain people will either run away from it, mm-hmm. or they'll fight it, or they'll sort of suppress it. And so there gets to be a point where you can't do that anymore. And that's sort of where we sort of wake up and say, I need something different, and start looking for that resource. It's as if, again, going back to the job scenario or example, it's like if you were to say, okay, you're going to be the CEO of this big company, and they just throw you right in, and you have no training on it, So it's like if you were to say, okay, I'm trying this is what I want to do, and it's not working. I need to go find a resource and learn how to do this so I can be this good leader that I want to be,
Absolutely.
So it's kind of like that, you get to a point where just it's not you're trying, but it's not working, and that's the place that I would say people would know.
That they need some help.
Yeah.
All right, my friends, thank you so much for joining us here. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to talk about bad habits that couples can get into, and how the breakup of a relationship can really be a grieving experience. Thank you so much for joining me. We'll see you right back here after the break.
Hi, I'm Miles McNamara, Certified Senior Advisor and owner of Comfort Keepers in Home Care. Our caregivers help you in your own home. A Comfort Keeper can provide companionship, meal preparation, medication monitoring, assistance with personal care, transportation to doctor appointments, all enhancing your independence and safety in the comfort and privacy of your own home. So if you or someone you love could use a helping hand at home, call Comfort Keepers at 287-4200. That's 287-4200.
It's time to plan that incredible holiday feast, which means it's time to visit Bob's Country Meats. You see, Bob's Country Meats has the finest prime ribs, turkey, and ham. You'll taste the difference. Want to make your holiday feast really stand out? How about serving a traditional Christmas goose? Goose, ribs, prime rib, ham, turkey. You know you'll get the best at Santa Clarita's store for quality meats. Bob's Country Meats. Place your order now on Soledad in Canyon Country. This holiday, make it Bob's Country Meats.
Great healthcare just got easier and more convenient in Canyon Country. Facey Canyon Country is now open directly off the Soledad Canyon exit off the 14 freeway. The 37,000 square foot clinic houses Facey Medical Group primary care physicians, pediatricians, and specialists. Facey has easy 24/7 online appointment scheduling for PCPs and PEDS. For more information or to make an appointment, visit Facey.com. That's FACEY.com.
The biggest sale of the holiday season is here. For 2 days only, AMS Fulfillment's Extreme Factory Outlet is having a huge holiday sale, Saturday, December 8th, 9 to 5, and Sunday, 9 to 3. Significantly discounted apparel, shoes, accessories, watches, kitchen gadgets, housewares, outdoor and patio items, swimwear, snorkel masks, stocking stuffers, and more. Brands include, but not limited to, 361 USA, Footed Pajamas, CV's Saludos, and many more. Come early, quantities limited. AMS Fulfillment, 28624 Witherspoon Parkway in Valencia Commerce Center.
If you're in danger of losing your home to foreclosure, you need an expert. Hi, I'm Rich Sherman with Alta Realty. I've helped hundreds of Santa Clarita residents save their homes completely for free. I've got just over 20 years experience and a loan modification success rate of over 80%. I can negotiate better terms with your bank and I can save your home from foreclosure. And again, we do this completely for free. So if you're in any danger, please call me today at 661-714-1400. That number again is 661-714-1400. I'm Rich Sherman with Alta Realty. I'll be happy to help you save your home for free.
Mission Valley Bank puts the community in community banking. They strive to be your most trusted bank. Mission Valley Bank is happy to sponsor KHTS Holiday Music. Happy holidays!
We all know sometimes people lose their way. If you or someone you know is struggling with addiction, the Way Out Recovery SCV may have the answers you've been waiting for. The Way Out is the premier intensive outpatient treatment center serving Santa Clarita. Asking for help is the first step. Call The Way Out today, 661-296-4444. That's 296-4444 for a private free assessment. The Way Out is an accredited affordable outpatient program that accepts most insurance. Call us at 661-296-4444 or check us out online at thewayoutrrecoveryscv.com. Quit battling with yourself. Ask The Way Out for help today.
Hey friends, welcome back. Sharon Brubaker, Grief Recovery Hour. You are right here at KHTS, and I have an amazing guest, and her name is Jessica Hartley, and she is a relationship coach, and I'm loving having our girlfriend time.
Yeah.
Because we're getting to talk through this and see exactly what it means to have a relationship that may or may not need some help, which is kind of cool. And just talking through different types of relationships and people knowing, you know, what is that point. We know that there's a grieving experience that can be caused in someone's heart for a divorce or breakup of a romantic relationship, but you and I both wish for the relationships to stay together. That's our ultimate goal, is keeping that relationship together and getting to that point. And that's really what we're talking about today. I think, and this is what I want to ask you, that a lot of times what happens is that the relationship just gets into really bad habits. And when I say bad habits, I mean they stop doing date night, or they never did it. They stop looking to hold the other person's space. They stop looking to really be there for the other person. Like something just happens. Time happens. Kids happen. Dogs happen. Cats happen. Would you agree that that's kind of...
Yeah, absolutely. I would agree. And the other side of it too is also that we come into it with some of our wounds still from our earlier experiences, whether that be a previous relationship or whether that be just the stuff that we had in childhood.
Yes.
And that all gets triggered and pulled up when we get past that honeymoon phase with our spouse or our partner. And so that's part of it too. But you're right as well, as that it can come from the other direction, where it's, you sort of lose yourself. You forget who you are as an individual. And then, especially when you're in a relationship, that's one of the things that I actually teach in the program is coming back to who we really are and getting back to that place. Because sometimes when another person with their needs and their wants, and then, maybe we're the pleasing type or, whatever. So we start to lose who we are. And sometimes they might lash out or be judgmental or, do some of the things from their conditioning. And so then we take that personally and we believe it, and then we lose really who we are, and then we're not acting from that place anymore. Another way that we lose who we are is often with children. Yeah. Children come in.
That's on my list.
Yeah. And gosh, they are the biggest blessings. I love being a mom, I have to say. But they also take up a lot of your focus and your time and your energy, especially I think it's definitely twofold, but the mother traditionally is the nurturer. So she is the one that is, giving up a lot of who she is, her time and her energy to be the mother. And so she just puts mainly that hat on, and then the spouse or the husband at that time is like, well, hey, what about me over here?
Yeah.
And so then he has to either refocus his attention somewhere else because he's not getting it, or, it just gets really hard. And so then you have this dynamic and then also it's parenting. Gosh, you don't know that you're not on the same page of parenting before you have kids.
Oh my goodness. That's so funny, because let's just stop there for a second. It's because you were parented a different way.
Right.
And we don't talk about this beforehand. We don't put it in the blueprints, right? So then that comes up. Oh my gosh, that's so funny you said that. That is bringing back memories.
Yeah, so then, that gets in the way too, because now you're arguing, you're having conflicts about, well, this is how I want to parent and this is important to me. And they're disagreeing with you, or vice versa. And then it's one of the things I teach is how to move past conflict and get back to connection every time.
Yeah.
Because the conflict is really just a challenge. It's a difference of opinion.
Right.
And we move it into places that can be so attacking. And, we're so vulnerable when it's our partner, because this is the person that we care the most about what they think, more than anyone else in the world.
Right.
So it's really hard not to take that stuff personally. If you were to hear one of your friends say some of the stuff that your spouse says sometimes, you'd be like, all right, whatever, I'll see ya. You wouldn't take it.
Yeah.
But it's a different story when it's your spouse, or your long-term partner. And so kids get in the way just by your energy, but also realizing that you have another conflict to have to overcome.
Yeah.
The interesting thing is a lot of times when there's trouble in the relationship, couples will have another kid. It's as if the kid will bring more love and connection and help them to fix it. But it really backfires, because it just brings, if you don't have this foundation, it makes it so much harder.
Right.
It might at first, is when the baby is up to 2 years old, but as soon as that child goes into its 2-year-old stage, boy, do things get hard, so.
The other part that is also true is you go through that when you're at the beginning stages with your children, when you're having your family and growing it. But then there's another part that happens when your parents start to become sick. It's almost like there's this other part on the other end, which in most cases for Tony and I, that's my husband, we got a lot stronger, but it was like going through that all over again. Now we have parents that are ill, parents that are sick, and it's like you relive that. There's a part 2. There's an act 2 to that. And some of the same bad habits can come up from that. It's really strange. So you want to be in a solid foundation and being ready to deal with that. Is it okay for people to come and work on their relationship even if they're not in crisis? Like, let's say early on, like just to get some of the junk out, or just helping work with the blueprints.
Absolutely. I mean, that is the most efficient way, at least the least challenging way to do it, because, if we go into our relationship with not having that, then we will face these challenges and reinforce our wounds, really. And that's the problem with not being proactive about it, is that when we have these challenges that will come up, it actually reinforces those painful points in our childhood or our earlier experiences, and it makes it harder to actually be able to overcome those, because they get more like solidified and sort of like, just the neural pathways in our brain associate this equals this, and that neural pathway gets thicker and stronger physically in our brain. So we have to really rewire and deconstruct that association, which is harder to do when it's, stronger.
Right. One of the things that I find that really helped Tony and I, especially during the child rearing age, was to really have that time set aside for the two of us, to really have the time set aside to have a date night, or even nightly, just checking in with each other. Okay, we have 20 minutes together before we sit down for family dinner, but just really being there. How was your day? And really tuning in. We didn't always get a chance to do that, but it did help. But there was this other part that happened. It always seemed to me like it was like every quarter I could just tell he was getting on edge, and it was like, okay, we need to be alone and just have parent adult time, one-on-one time. And so it would not be uncommon for me to set up a babysitter, and we would just, even if we were going just to Oxnard or somewhere close, and just have a night together, just the two of us, and like reconnecting. It was so important. But I find so many couples don't do that.
I know. It's crazy. I honestly feel a little bit bad sometimes when like telling my friends like how often we have date nights.
Yeah.
And I'm so thankful that I have my mom that is near me, who can watch my kids and help us with that, because really what she's doing is offering us this opportunity to make sure our foundation is staying nurtured, and I should probably tell her how important that is.
You can tell her right now. She's probably going to listen to your show. Thanks, Mom.
Yes.
The other thing, it's not always about spending money. I hear a lot of people say they don't want to do it because, we don't have the money. Go to the park. Walk around. That's free.
Yeah.
Go to the mall.
Yeah.
The other thing that's really strange is most of the time you spend talking about the kids, don't you?
Oh, yes. But you know what? They're not around and pulling on you.
Yeah.
It's such a different energy.
Yeah.
You don't need to give them your focus. So your energy is connected. One of the things that my husband and I do is that we will have car dates. So this is like our inexpensive way of doing it. But we'll have an intention to go to a restaurant or go to a movie or something like that. And we'll sit in the car and we will be waiting for the movie for like maybe half an hour, and we just get talking.
Yeah.
And then the movie starts and we're still talking.
Yeah.
And then and then we're like, oh, should we go to the movie? Nah, let's just, and we just like, there is something about getting out of the house.
Yes.
And because that is like your sort of like your normal energy space where, you have the parent hat on or whatever it is. And so being able to get out of the house, but all you have to do is like just get in the car. So sometimes we'll just like go to like a spot where there's like a nice view or something like that. And
just setting the intention.
Yeah,
just setting the intention. Okay, so we've been married 33 or 34 years. We argue about that. And just the other day, he went to Burbank. Some friends showed him this fried chicken place. And it was a Saturday. And he was like, Tony said, hey, let's go. And let's try it out. I want to take you over there. It was really good. And we went. And the dinner was great. But on the way back, I just turned the radio off. So I just turned the radio off, and he and I, instead of getting on the freeway, we took the streets back from Burbank all the way back to Santa Clarita, and we just started talking. It's one of my most amazing memories that I'll have with him for the rest of my life, because we both talked about our childhood, and we shared stories. This is emotional for me right now.
Yeah.
We shared stories we'd never shared before, and we thoroughly enjoyed each other, and we laughed and we talked, and it was just the best night. And we really just went down there, had chicken, and drove back. Really, the best part was the driving back, but it was so cool.
Right. Yeah. So connection doesn't have to be expensive.
No,
You know,
no.
you can create that anywhere. It is easier to get out of the house to create it,
Right.
but doesn't have to cost money. You know what I mean? So then the thing is like, okay, well, then I have to pay a babysitter because I've got kids, you know? And so if that is the situation, then I encourage people to just go outside and go, you know, if you have a fire pit, light a fire and go somewhere where you might not normally be in your normal, like, day-to-day energy. And so that way you could still be home, but like a little bit somewhere different, you know what I mean?
And
but
date
just make
share.
it happen.
Date share. So I used to babysit for my brother and his wife, and then they would in turn babysit for us. And so we were each getting those date nights, but we weren't charging each other, which is a great way to go. So you're at least getting out of the house. Guys, friends, it is so important to have that time. Even if it's just getting up at 6, like right now, what Tony and I do a lot, we'll get up at 6 o'clock in the morning or 5 o'clock in the morning and just have coffee, just the two of us, before, you know, if our family's in town, before there crazy starts, you know, so that we're just having that one-on-one time together with coffee at the table. And the thing that's so crazy is eventually what it gets to is you need less and less time, but you just need that one-on-one time to really connect. Yeah? One-on-one time to really connect. How does your program work?
So my program is it's centered around what I've identified as the 6 major elements of thriving relationships. So it takes people around about 5 months, give or take, and we go step by step. So something that's so cool about my program is that earlier in my work, I was giving this amazing content because, I mean, understanding these 6 concepts or elements is, I mean, if you have these tools and awareness and understanding, you can absolutely thrive in your relationship. However, so I was giving this information and people would understand it, but then they weren't doing it, you know? So there was this disconnect. So what I did is I actually took a pause and I stopped, you know, focusing on that content, and I sort of just took a deep dive into like what's going on. Like we're actually not able to integrate what we want into our way of being. And so I started just studying the brain and brain development and skill acquisition and things like that. And how do we as adults, because our brain is really, for the most part, done growing, right?
Yeah.
And so a lot of the stuff that we are given is in there, you know, and so that's why, you know, we might be reinforcing old material by doing it, you know, this other way. And so it's a little bit harder to actually integrate a new idea or way of reacting, you know, in the moment or whatever. So I just studied, researched and studied about how to make sure that if I want to learn something, how I can learn it in the most efficient and effective way possible. And I took all of that information and then I plugged it into the program.
Wow.
And so that's why it's actually across 5 months and not just like a weekend retreat of material, you know, because I really, really care about delivering these results to people. You know, I don't want to just give them the information because then it sort of is a waste of my time and their money. You know, it's like I'd rather it be something that's going to create results and lasting change, not just like this temporary fix, you know? And oftentimes that's what we get when we just, you know, go to a retreat or something like that. It's like, oh, yeah, I'm inspired for a week, maybe 2, maybe a month if you're lucky. But then it's like, that's it, you know, and then you retreat back to the way you've been operating. And so I really wanted to help people to create lasting change. So so that is why it's a program and not just like a retreat or information. Or
so there's action steps and homework and journaling and all of that sort of thing?
Yeah, so mostly, there's parts of it that are online, so there's content, right? And then there's practice opportunities to where they're practicing. There's accountability, there's there's a few different things that I do for them. Like one of the things that I do is actually have this series of reconnection date nights. And so I send them off with like a specific kind of date night, which is like, yeah, this is
so cool.
Yeah, it really is so cool. And then I have just like sometimes I'll give them little reminders of daily acts of love, things like that. But all of that stuff is like more in the later part of the program because we always focus in the beginning on them and getting them back to who they are then going from there into being in relationship.
Awesome. That's so cool. This is so exciting. I love all of this material. Okay, friends, we're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we're going to talk about where we can find Jessica and a little bit deeper dive into her program. See you right here after the break. Thank you.
Life's not meant to feel complacent. It's meant to make you feel alive. The youth ministry at the Church on the Way Santa Clarita believes that students can belong to the group where we will help them believe they have a purpose in Christ and become all that He has created them to be. We want to see God's power come alive in our generation. We love meeting new people, so come hang out with us. Doors open at 6 p.m. and service starts at 7 every Wednesday night. For more information about the Church on the Way Santa Clarita, including service times and what's happening through the end of the year, visit tcowsc.org.
Your building sign is essential in getting customers to your location. Feathers can help get your business noticed. They walk you through each phase of your building sign project, providing special attention to detail and quality. Feathers will give you a sign you can be proud of. Your building sign will draw customers in instead of having them drive by. Feathers on Soledad in Canyon Country, across from the Edwards Theater. Or go to feathersphoto.com. That's feathersphoto.com.
The magic of the Christmas season comes to life on stage with Santa Clarita Ballet's production of The Nutcracker. This captivating and thoroughly entertaining holiday classic, performed by Santa Clarita Ballet, features characters that delight audiences. Travel with Mary and her Nutcracker to the land of sweets, where she meets the Sugar Plum Fairy. Performances run Saturday, December 15th through Sunday, December 16th at Santa Clarita Performing Arts Center at COC. Call 251-0366 or visit santaclaritaballet.net.
Do you ever listen, but you're not really paying attention? Sort of like what you're doing to me right now. This is Alex Urbina, your advanced life coach specialist. One of the most frequent questions I hear is, what is a life coach? Well, tune in every Friday at noon to learn the value of having a coach and listen to a live coaching session on the radio. Right here on your hometown station, KHTS.
Hey there, it's Tori with your hometown station weather. Rain most of today and tonight. Rain is likely tomorrow as well. Highs in the low 50s. However, the sun should be back on Friday. Don't miss it. A very Merry Christmas with the Letterman, special guest Savannah Burrows, and the West Ranch High School Choir. Sunday, December 9th, 5 p.m. at the PAC at COC. For more information, go to our Facebook page at KHTS Radio.
Your hometown station.
Hey friends, welcome back. You are listening to KHTS, your hometown station. I'm Sharon Brubaker, Advanced Certified Grief Recovery Specialist, and I'm here with my friend Jessica Hartley, Relationship Coach, and we've been talking through marriage and getting help and coaching for your marriage and how that actually will help you to grow your marriage and help you with any bad areas that you've been and bad habits. That's what I'm going to call them. And this has been an amazing time. I haven't even talked that much about grief and grief in the marriage because I'm so excited to hear what you have. But even just having the bad habits is a grieving experience in a marriage. So there can be triggers from childhood we talked about, or they can experience something very devastating in their marriage.
Yeah.
And then how they approach it.
You know, I would also say that another part that is common in grieving is just having this vision.
Yeah.
And then realizing that while you're in it, that vision's not playing out.
Yeah.
You know, and it's
absolutely.
like, oh, did I marry the right person?
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know?
And that's so crazy because I hear people ask that quite often. It's not uncommon for a couple to come up to a grieving experience and one handle it one way and the other one handle it a different way and then realize they don't like the way the other person is handling it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that can happen quite often. That's one of the reasons why in grief work we will work separate so that we can work through what is definitely broken in their heart and help them to mend that, which will help to build their relationship back and get it more solid. What is something that someone could do right now if they're not going to call you, but they know things are not the way they like them? What would be something that you could give to a couple right now that they could do in their marriage today to make a difference?
You know, the biggest thing that will start you on the right track is to step out of making it their fault.
Yeah.
It's sometimes the hardest thing too. Because they're the one that's doing this. And,
right.
you know, one of the things that's so hard for us to understand or accept is that every single human being, from their perspective, they always feel like they're the one that's right.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So just being able to understand that is big because then we can stop needing them to be either right or wrong. We could stop judging them because we think that we're right too.
Yeah.
You know, one of the things that I do early on when I'm teaching conflict resolution is, you know, I show these images of, you know, I don't know if you've ever seen them, but it's like one image and you might look at it one way and you'll see like this old lady, or you might look at it another way and you'll see a young woman, you know, or, and so that is so cool because based on our previous conditioning, we're going to see it a different way.
Right.
You know, and so just sort of settling into the fact that we have different perspectives.
Right.
None of us are right and none of us are wrong.
Right.
So moving into an energy of no longer blaming or judging your partner will be huge.
Yes.
You know,
absolutely.
Another perspective that I like to explain too is that, you know, when a child skins their knee, they get hurt. What do? You know, they're crying. They come to usually a parent, and the parent will hold them, and she'll kiss the boo-boo,
mm-hmm.
right, and make it all better, and help the child calm down and get back to who they are, and release that wound, and then go back to playing. Right. That's exactly what happens. And so the funny thing is that in relationship, when we have our spouse, because they are seen as our equal, we often don't do that same thing, but that's really what's happening, you know? So when our spouse lashes out at us and they're, you know, they show their wound in a different way, but their wound is the yelling, the criticism, the judgment, the anger, the sadness, the manipulation, whatever our spouse is doing, that's their wound.
Yeah.
So just to be able to like reframe what's happening there can make a huge difference, because then if you can really see it that way, then you'll no longer have to defend yourself from it, you know, instead of say, be that parent in that position, to sort of be like, oh, this person that I deeply love has a wound and they're showing it to me.
Wow.
So I'm going to hold them through it. I'm not going to take it personally. I'm not going to judge them. I'm going to kiss it and just show them that I love them, that I see the good in them, and hold space until they can calm down.
Yeah.
And then get back to who they really are.
That is so cool. That's so amazing. Oh, I love that. That was great advice. Please tell all of our friends where they can find you.
So you can find me at jessicahartley.com, or you can reach me at 661-347-8473.
Friends, thank you so much for joining Jessica and myself today. We love that you were here. Have a great rest of your week.